Welcome into NHL Tonight, first shift for Monday, November the 10th, 2025, Hall of Fame induction night in Toronto. E.J. Hradek here alongside Mike Kelly. Mike, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. I love Hall of Fame induction night. It's the speeches are always awesome, and it's a good class this year.
I think we were up there together one year, weren't we?
We were. Like you would forget that, EJ. Come on. It was memorable.
Was that the night that it was really cold up there that I was not anticipating? It might have been.
It was.
Yeah.
It was, and I think it was one of the first nights they moved the red carpet outside. Which for years it was inside. I don't know what they do now. This was a few years ago. But yeah, it was outside, and it was frigid.
Yes. And I was not prepared for that evening, but it was fun nonetheless. And I believe they've moved it back to where it had been prior, which is right in kind of that business center, which is attached to the Hall of Fame. I think that's where it is. So we will have that for you tonight here on the NHL Network, so you can check that out and have a nice little run-up show as well. So, Mike, let's bring in our mutual friend, the one and only, our producer, J.D. Lindbergh. J.D., what do we have today?
Well, each on the Hall of Fame track, we will have Ed Olczyk. Eddie O joins us. He's a member of the Hockey Hall of Fame Selection Committee. So you'll go one-on-one with Eddie to get an inside look at the process of what goes on when they select the Hall of Fame class. Also, one of these Hall of Famers, Jumbo Joe Thornton. Mike Kelly's going to go inside the numbers on his 2016 playoff run. He was so good that year. Sharks came up so close against the Pittsburgh Penguins. As always, First Shift, we're available as a podcast on YouTube and YouTube Music, so you shifties, like, comment, subscribe, download, please. Each, got some business to take care of right off the top of the show, though.
Yes, we do. It's time for the 3 stars of the week, presented by Geico, and boy, you couldn't ask for 3 bigger stars right now in the National Hockey League. You can see number 3, Leo Carlsson, lighting it up, 10-game point streak. Connor Bedard, fortunate enough to call his game yesterday. Blackhawks beat the Red Wings, and he didn't disappoint. He had a goal in that game. He scored an 8 straight. And then the number 1 star, Nathan MacKinnon, 10 points in 3 games. He had 9 points in his last 2, including 5 last night. So 3 great stars. And with that, let's get to first things first, JD. And I got to start with the Anaheim Ducks because they've won 7 in a row. And they have not been beating, the bottom of the league, beating good teams. Saturday night, they won in Vegas, won in overtime, and then last night at home, took out the Winnipeg Jets 4-1. 7 straight wins for the Ducks. They're sitting there in first place in the Pacific Division, 11-3-1 on the season. I mean, look at this, Mike Kelly. I mean, this is a who's who of pretty good teams that they're dealing with.
It is. This team can score like it's nobody's business. And you talk about beating good teams, EJ. Just last year, if they won a game, it was unexpected because pretty much everybody was a better team. But man, to watch them do what they've done against, like you said, pretty good competition, and how, I know it's not easy, but how easy it looks for them to create offense and score goals. A lot of people kind of had the Ducks as their pick as the up-and-coming team this year, get into the playoffs. And I'll be honest, I was a pessimistic person when it came to that view. It's hard to say that this team doesn't look more real than not right now, just given how electrifying they are.
Yeah, last year it took them 29 games to get to 11 wins. This year, it's just 15. And you're right, they're scoring goals, they're getting good goaltending. I mean, it's not always pretty. I mean, I watched the game against Vegas the other night. They were on the ropes in that game. If it wasn't for Peter Mrazek, I think in the third period, they'd probably lose that game. Mrazek was terrific. Jacob Trouba scores in overtime off the pass from Carlson. And the Ducks ended up winning, and then they won again last night. Let's talk about Carlson a little bit here because he's got a 10-game point scoring streak right now. He had 2 goals against Vegas. He had 2 goals against the Winnipeg Jets last night. I mean, Leo Carlsson, we knew he was going to be a really good player when he was drafted, but he has really taken it up to another level this year.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. It's another gear. And, we do the draft every year, EJ. And I remember at that draft, it was Bedard, number 1, obviously. But number 2, it was like, probably Fantilli, maybe. And he's a heck of a player. You take nothing away from him. But Anaheim went with Leo Carlsson. And my view at the time was probably going to be the more complete player, maybe not quite the offensive ceiling, but maybe the more complete player. And you look at what he's done this season, just among all forwards in the league, like this is a complete game. He moves the puck up the ice well. He creates scoring chances. He's, him and everyone else with the Ducks off the rush, the way they're flying around. But wins battles, he goes to the net front, playmaker. He kind of does it all. And he's top 5 in points per game right now among all forwards in the league. So, how long can Anaheim look? They're scoring over 4 goals a game. The offense is going to come down to some degree, but how long can they keep scoring at a really high rate? He's going to be a bus driver in terms of them doing that. And I think we're seeing now a pretty complete picture of who this kid can be, which is a terrific first-line player.
Yeah, I talked to Joel Quenneville, and he's had some good players during his tenure as a coach around the National Hockey League, and he just said, hey, Leo Carlsson is special. And he has proven to be the case. I mean, again, he came into the league. He was still growing. I remember when they had that first year. Remember, Mike? And they didn't play him on some days. They were resting him on other days. And part of that was, my understanding, was that the medicals they had on Carlsson was there was still a lot of room for growth, just physical growth. And they wanted to be really careful with him in that first year. But certainly, the time has come to turn him loose. And good luck stopping him, stopping Gauthier, stopping the rest of that crew, because they are lighting it up right now, and they are just a handful to deal with. And they've got Colorado tomorrow night, so I'm looking forward to that one.
I was just going to say that. They got the Avalanche coming up, and if you want a litmus test, like to me, Colorado is the best team in the league, and they're on their own with how they play and how good they are. So, yeah, we'll see coming up. This is the one I got circled on my calendar as far as a game to watch, certainly on Tuesday night, maybe even game of the week, though.
Yeah, the top 2 teams in points in the NHL. But that's tomorrow. Let's also talk about another one of the 3 stars, Connor Bedard. I got the real privilege of watching his game yesterday, calling his game with Kevin Weeks for the NHL Network Showcase, and it didn't take long. They got an early power play. He came right out and scored. He's got an 8-game point streak. He had 3 points against the Wings yesterday, including that early goal in the game. 4 points against Calgary on Friday night. 18 points in his last 8 games. And you can see here, fewest games to record 25 points in a season over the last 35 years. You might have heard of the other guy, Patrick Kane, and here you see Connor Bedard. I mean, he has really taken his game to another level this year.
Has he ever? He looks different. He's playing different. And like if I was Connor Bedard, which me and him have nothing in common, he's one of the best hockey players in the world. But if I was him, I'd be sitting there last year listening to everybody going on about Macklin Celebrini and how great he is and how complete his game is and how he should be on the 4 Nations team and all the rest of it. And Michael Jordan. I took that personally. I would take that personally. I'm like, I'm the young player. I'm the young face of the league. So it's really cool to see both of those guys just blowing the doors off this season. But Bedard's his own player. Forget about Macklin. You look at some of the improvements that he's made. And I want to look at the first 2 things because they are so important. These are plays off the puck, which if you wanted to be critical of Bedard before, you would say, hey, with the puck, he's real special. But off of it, there could be improvement. Puck battle wins, stick checks, forcing opponents into mistakes. He has gone from way down the list in terms of forwards to top 35 in both. Zone entries, you're moving the puck up the ice. He was already elite. He's even better. Getting to the house, even better. Points, he's now top 10 in the league per game. Connor Bedard, his skating, by all accounts, is something he worked on a lot in the summer and has improved. It's noticeable. His top speed this year is a mile an hour faster. Doesn't sound like much. It's actually a lot when you get into those kind of speed. Yeah. So you can measure the differences. You can watch him play. The compete level on this kid is off the charts. And I think one thing, EJ, like maybe it was easy to forget because of the hype around him. And I don't remember hype like that going into his rookie year since Crosby, to be honest. McDavid, I guess, too. But
yeah,
it was so big that maybe we kind of forgot for a second. He's a kid. He is super young, and he's still really young.
Yep. Yeah, he won't even turn 21 until July. So, he's got a ways to go. And you can see here, he's moving his way up the list of most goals in Hawks history. And, oh, by the way, they are celebrating their centennial season this year, so there's been a lot of water under that bridge. And you can see here, he's tied right now with Denny Savard. He just passed Patrick Patrick Kane yesterday, coming up on Bobby Hull, Jonathan Toews, Jeremy Roenick, and our guy, Eddie O, who holds that mark at 65 goals. Eddie's going to join us a little later in the show, but that record might be in jeopardy. It looks like Connor Bedard is going to surpass all those guys as he continues to play well. One note, that I got from, and I'll credit Darren Pang, who does the Hawks games, in Chicago. He's the analyst, and he's obviously a good friend of the show, and you see him on TNT, but, he sees them all the time, and I asked him about him, and he said one of the things he did, he shortened his stick just a little bit firmer stick now, and maybe that's helping him win faceoffs more. I think that's kind of a byproduct of being a little bit stronger, a little bit older, a little bit wiser in the circle, but when you're winning faceoffs, Mike, what happens? Even if you're winning marginally more, you have the puck more. And I think that's helped him as well. And I got to give Jeff Blashill a shout out. I think the Hawks, watching their game yesterday, their defensive numbers are much better, and it's easy to see why. They've got a lot of young players, but they're long. They have good stick on puck action in the D zone. I mean, this team is playing way better, and Bedard he's part of that whole thing in Chicago.
Yeah, well, and when you've got your leader, your best player leading the charge in some of those areas, like watching him play so much better without the puck and working to get it back, everybody's going to follow, right? So that's kind of the unintended positive consequence of Bedard elevating his game so much in that area, is everybody else is going to look at that and say, oh, we're doing it too.
Yeah, we got the call out to Jeff Blashill. Hopefully we're going to get him on the show sometime in the next several days, and I'd love to talk to him about what he's doing there, because I think he's doing a terrific job in his second real opportunity as a head coach in the NHL. Let's talk about, okay, we got the kids, and the kids are all right, as the Who might say way back when. But Nate McKinnon is reminding everybody that, hey, I'm not that old either, and I'm still getting it done. McKinnon, he has his own 9-game point scoring streak. He was #1 star of the week for a reason. He had 9 points in his last 2 games, 5 against the Canucks last night. He was in on all 5 goals in an overtime win. Congratulations to Gavin Brindley, gets the overtime winner, playing really nicely for the Avalanche. But you can see the numbers right here for McKinnon. I mean, another guy, just a special player, turning it up. And, maybe it's the year for the Avalanche to get back, Mike, and win it all again.
They're my pick right now. What do? We evaluate process with teams to kind of try to predict the coming future. We evaluate results, obviously. They're the best in the league at both. And they look like they've got depth now. They, to me, look like clearly the best team in the league. Nate's driving the bus, obviously. I feel for my boy Gabe Landeskog. He's put a couple pucks in the back of the net. They keep getting called back on him. So, once he'll get going too, like he's coming back from obviously the crazy injury he had and everything. They are so good though, that team. And McKinnon, I think this is fair to say, because it's a fluid conversation. It's never set in stone. You go back to the start of last year until today, he's the best player in the world, in my opinion. The way that he's playing, he's playing as well as I've ever seen him play.
Yeah, hey, listen, it's hard to argue. I mean, I know that Connor McDavid is a great player. I mean, he's going through it a little bit right now. At least his team is there. He's still spectacular. But the good news for the league is, like, there's a lot of guys that we can have in that discussion now, I mean, we got Celebrini playing so well. We got Carlson in Anaheim. We got Bedard showing what he can do in Chicago. We've talked about these guys. McKinnon is doing what he does. McDavid, of course, is great. Even Crosby at this late stage is still a fabulous 200-foot player, and maybe in a big spot, you might want him above everyone else still. So it's just great for the game that so many of these high-end players are playing at a really high level.
Do you think there's any coincidence that I don't know, there's an Olympic tournament coming up? I think it's great though, right?
Might have something to do with it. I mean, they all want to show out. I mean, and they're all playing really, really well right now. It's you could take a look. Here's a look at the points leaders in the National Hockey League, and everybody's taking their turn. Celebrini was in first place for a while. Bedard was in first place. Carlson was right up there as well. McKinnon then this weekend, 9 points. I mean, he's blown right to the top. So heck of a list. And Cale Makar leads all defensemen, 22 points. So he's doing what Cale Makar always does. Let's get to the schedule for the games tonight. We got 4 games on the docket. We got some interesting matchups. Devils at home, trying to win again at home. They have not lost on home ice this year, taking on the Islanders, who are coming off that win over the Rangers over the weekend. The Rangers are at home That's always a concern these days. They're hosting the Predators. You got UC Saros, the man who always says, no goals. So we'll see if the Rangers can score any tonight. It's been a rough ride. The Oilers coming off a disastrous Saturday night against the Avalanche, lost 9-1. They're hosting the Jackets. And then a rematch of the 2023 Cup Final, the Vegas Golden Knights at home against the Florida Panthers. And we have to talk about this Ranger situation here. I mean, like, this is mind-boggling. I mean, everybody I've talked to, I talked to a guy today who's been around the Rangers for 30 years and just can't figure it out. And look at this. On the road, maybe the best team in the league. I talked to Alex Tanguay the other day. Red Wings played the Rangers Friday night. Rangers played well, won the game. He said, hey, EJ, the Rangers played really well. Then they go home the next night against the Islanders. They had a good start to the game, couldn't score, ended up getting shut out again for the 5th time in 7 games. They've only scored the 6 goals at home, 5 of them in 1 game. 1 for 17 on the power play. It is just crazy how this Rangers team, I mean, this is historic futility on home ice for a franchise, particularly one that has been around a long time. Again, they're celebrating their centennial too, the New York Rangers, to be shut out 5 times in 7 games. Are you seeing anything, numbers-wise, that can help us understand this craziness?
There's certainly nothing that says, oh, that's why. Of course they've been shut out 5 times. I mean, no, it's insane. The power play hasn't been great overall, right? So you're not benefiting from, okay, we got a man advantage, we'll get one on the power play. You take a look at the home and the road splits here per game. Start at the top, right? Rush chances. It's a rush league. Coaches will tell you that. Great way to create offense. Pretty much the same. Slot shots, less than 1 more a game on the road, not a meaningful difference. Expected goals, okay, when you factor in a whole bunch of other offensive things, yeah, they're creating more goal probability per game on the road by, about 3/4 of a goal. So that's a goal every 4 games. That's not explaining the difference of 2.5 or whatever it is goals a game that they're scoring or not scoring. So no, there's nothing that outright explains it. And I do wonder from the psychological point of view, it just starts messing with your head at some point. And we talk about it, right, with players who go through slump scoring. Okay, maybe they try to be a little too fine with their shots. Maybe they, there's things that they do that even though you're getting certain chances and looks, you're forcing it a bit much. Maybe you're overpassing, try to set up perfect plays. There's different things that can go into it, I suppose. But these are all educated guesses because, no, it doesn't make sense. And I usually allow for 4, maybe 5 weeks for these early season kind of anomalies. Like the Kings are another team that's always been great at home that are doing great on the road and not so good at home right now. And you figure they'll sort it out, but there's nothing to me that really explains this. You've been to several games. I don't know what you're seeing, MSG.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I mean, I was at the game against San Jose when they did have an offensive outburst, and they ended up still losing that game 6-5 in overtime. Celebrini and Smith were great for San Jose in that game, so it was just one of those games that got away from them. But everything else, it just seems like they come out with some really good starts. Against the Islanders, I mean, they must have hit the post at least twice in the first 6-7 minutes of the game. They had good chances. They didn't score. You see Zibanejad, they're looking at the monitor. They're trying to figure out. It just seems like as the game goes on right now, because they're all aware of what's been going on. Everybody in the building is aware of what's been going on. As the game goes along, it seems like it starts to grip them a little bit. And you can see here, I mean, we're talking about historic. The Rangers 5 in their first 7, and we've got a lot of home games to play. I think that's 35 more home games, or there are 34 more home games for the Rangers if there's 41 at home. And this is the record, 8 by, when you see the Oakland Seals and the 70s and the early 70s Capitals and an expansion like Minnesota Wild team, and the Bruins weren't that good in 03-04. When you see those teams on there, that's not a list you want to be on. No. So we'll see if they can get it done against Nashville tonight. Nashville's 1-3-2 on the road. If there's ever a team that you should be able to at least, you should be able to get that first home win and create some chances and score some goals. I know Saros is excellent, but you should be able to beat the Nashville Predators in your building. Now here's a tweet from our buddy Dan Rosen. Vinny Trocheck is in a white jersey and centering a line with Panarin and Lafreniere at Rangers morning skate. That's a good sign that Trocheck will return tonight, his first game since October the 9th. When he was injured in Buffalo, he has missed 14 straight games. I think that's a really big deal for this team. because he slides into that spot. All of a sudden, you can put Zibanejad with Miller. Trocheck plays better with Panarin. Panarin has struggled out of the gate. They've called up Gabe Perreault, so we'll see if looks like he's going to be in the mix tonight as well. It should be really interesting to see if this makes a difference. But I've been saying for a while now, Mike, that Vinny Trocheck being out really hurts the team because they're already thin through the middle. And when he's not in the middle, it changes the dynamic. And those two pairs that I mentioned, Zibanejad and Miller, and then Trocheck and Panarin, those are guys that can drive those individual lines.
Yeah, excellent point. Because you can allow, like you said, other people to fall into place too. And like I would think about putting Trocheck right on that first power play unit right away. Yeah. And because he's really good on the power play also. And Gabe Perreault, he's got great vision on the ice. Like he's a good playmaker. He's got a good shot too. But I know he's a young kid. You're not going to try to say, hey, we kind of need 3 from you tonight. We need to get some goals on home ice. But you hope he can inject something, right? And I got no problem with mixing things up to try to find a spark. I do think, though, it's going to be one of those things where once it falls, it's going to roll. Yeah. I do still have a lot of confidence in this team to figure it out more than not. But this is just a mental pretzel for them right now. Yeah. Well, listen, they got a good goalie. Their new coach, Mike Sullivan, has done a good job. Their defensive play and their zone coverages, everything have been way better. We will see if they can get it going tonight against the Predators and get off the schneid a little bit on home ice. When we come back, Hall of Fame induction night, and our guy, Eddie O, he's on the committee. He'll talk about it with us next on First Shift.
3 Stars of the Week is presented by Geico. Switch and save. Get more with Geico.
Here is a look at the class of 2025. Big night in Toronto at the Hockey Hall of Fame. You can see the players and the builders. Some very, very familiar names on that list. And a familiar name on our list is our guy, Eddie O, who is on the selection committee for the Hockey Hall of Fame. Eddie, thanks for coming in on this day. I know you're up there in Toronto at the Hall of Fame for the festivities tonight. For the viewer and the listener, just what goes on? I mean, it's something that we don't really know about, and you can't obviously tell us a lot of like the particulars, but maybe you could set the scene for what it's like when that committee gets together.
Well, EJ, it's always great to be with you, and thanks for having me, pal. Keep up the great work. This was my first year of being on the selection committee for the Hockey Hall of Fame, and was thrilled when Lanny McDonald and Mike Gartner, my former teammate with the Rangers back in the day, asked me if I would consider being a part of it, and certainly a great honor. And didn't take me too long to say yes. And, just kind of learning the process of if it's starting, 8-9 months before the actual celebration here tonight in Toronto. So, the meetings and, who's eligible and, the discussions that go on amongst the committee and, the back and forths and, the arguments that you have for, maybe the arguments you have against, and you come to a decision as a group. And you got some tremendous hockey people led by the legendary Hockey Hall of Famer himself, the great Ron Francis of the Hockey Hall of Fame and the committee. So, we have our leadership group and, we have our meetings and we come to these decisions. So never easy. People, ask, how's this person not in? How's that person in? And so they're just, I don't think you're ever going to please everybody, but I think when you look at the class of 2025, it's pretty salty and some impactful players. Yeah. Obviously, the gentleman that played in the National Hockey League. So it's great to have been a part of. I learned a lot, EJ. I kind of treaded water my first year on the committee, and looking forward to the next couple of years. So it's just it's an interesting dynamic of of the conversations that are had behind closed doors. And again, the Hockey Hall of Fame, I have believed it is for the very best. And look at our game. It's just sometimes I think, EJ, too, people forget it's not the National Hockey League Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the Hockey Hall of Fame. And, you could have a major impact, as a player, man or woman. But then also too, you could have an unbelievable career outside of the game, helping the game and being a big part of it. So there's lots of different ways to look at it, but I think I'm extremely proud to be a part of it and looking forward to the ceremony here tonight at the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I remember that Brian Burke always reminded me of hey, there's a big international component to all this,
sure.
And how you do an international play plays into this as well. I want to go back to you come into these meetings now. Do you nominate? I guess somebody nominates these guys for induction, and then you have that conversation. Do you know who's going to get inducted prior to going?
No. We find
who's going to get nominated.
Nominate. Yeah, the nominations. Those are all brought to the table, and then we have the discussions, and then it gets to a final process that goes on. So yes, people are nominated. There is I don't know if people realize this. There is a public, EJ. There is a public nomination where hockey fans can get their feelings felt to the Hockey Hall of Fame before a certain time in the calendar to be able to be brought towards the board and the committee. So it's there's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of things that I've learned since my short period of time, less than a year now of being one of the members on the selection committee. So but like I said, the interesting thing to me has been the dialogue and the discussions that have gone on, and really looking forward to the celebration of the greatest game in the world for a lot of well-deserving people, so-called both on and off the ice.
All right, Eddie, let me ask you about this class, because obviously you played in the league for many years. We just held up earlier one of your records that you still hold in Chicago, most goals for any player under 21. Oh, that Connor Bedard is coming for you. You're going to have to keep an eye on that. But just a reminder of what a terrific player you were in your career. I think people don't always remember that because we know you so much from broadcasting over these last, many years now. You did such an unbelievable job. But, when you look at this class, who's the one guy that stands out maybe above all others? And I'll limit that to the NHL players that you've covered. You've been right there through the Thorntons and the Mogilnys and the Charas and the Duncan Keiths. Who is it for you?
Yeah, well, thanks a lot, EJ. I'd like to think I've seen the majority of the games that Duncan Keith has played in his Hall of Fame career in Chicago. So, knowing him personally, knowing the impact that he had in the city of Chicago, the three Stanley Cups, the MVPs, the Norris Trophy, the Olympic, gold medals for Canada. I said this a while ago, EJ. I think Duncan Keith, playing and having played a long time, as you mentioned, but playing with some unbelievable teammates and playing against some of the greatest defensemen in the history of the National Hockey League, and then the broadcasting part of it. I don't think I've ever seen a defenseman shut down more plays in between the red line and the defensive blue line than Duncan Keith. And that is a confidence level. That is a skill level. That is a security level of knowing that, schematically that, if he was going to step up and try to shut down a play, if he would get beaten, it rarely happened, that he would have the confidence to be able to shut down so many plays. Not the biggest guy, super strong, great stick, probably sacrificed, EJ, some of the offensive numbers for knowing the importance and the role that he played, especially under Joel Quenneville in matchups and in, all the minutes that he logged. I think there was one, I remember talking to the great Doc Emmerich, another Hockey Hall of Famer and a friend of ours, the great Doc Emmerich. I think it was in the 15 Cup playoffs. I think Duncan Keith almost played half the minutes that the Blackhawks played in the playoffs that year. When you really think about it, it's just incredible. I don't think it was 50%, but I think it was in at 48 or 49%. So, but I think, the relationship, it's all about the relationships. It's always been that for me. I learned that as a rookie when I came in 1984, and all these years later as a player, a coach, and a broadcaster. You like to see great people achieve great things. And look, I've said this before. I believe Duncan Keith is the greatest defenseman to ever have played for the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, that is in all the great respect of Bobby Orr, who played a handful of games for the Blackhawks,
yep.
you know, but I think you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
Like, I think when you look at it, Patrick Kane to me is the greatest Blackhawk ever. And I think Duncan Keith is the greatest defenseman ever to play for the Blackhawks. And that's saying something for a franchise that is, celebrating their 100th year in the National Hockey League. And look at it, to all the great players that have been there, the Stan Mikitas, the Bobby Hull, the Tony O, the Chris Chelios, I can go on and on. But I just think for Duncan Keith, and having seen him pretty much every day and having a relationship with him, I think to see him go in, I mean, I think we all knew that he was going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he was a pretty special player in all three zones. And I think when you talk to guys that played with him, he was, I want to say he was the engine for the success of the Blackhawks in the golden era there between 10 and 15. But he made a lot of things go, and rightfully so, going in with an unbelievable class with Jumbo and Big Z, and and a guy that I played against, and Alexander Mogilny is. And I'll be honest with you, EJ, and we have these conversations over the years, and not ever thinking that I would ever have a hand in or have a be a part of the selection committee, but wondering how Alexander Mogilny wasn't in a Hockey Hall of Fame already, but look, things happen, and well-deserved. And somebody asked me the other day, EJ, about, how would you, when you talk about Alexander Mogilny, like the type of scorer that he was, Leon Draisaitl reminds me a lot of Alexander Mogilny. And I'm not talking about the size or the way they get around the rink, but I'm just saying, when you watch the puck come off the stick of Leon Draisaitl and Alexander Mogilny, for me, that's where I sit there and go, wow, I see a lot of where the hands are, where the puck comes off their stick, and getting themselves in the position to be able to do what I think is one of the hardest things in all of sports, is to put the puck in the back of the net. So nice to see those elder statesmen still being considered and thought about getting into the Hockey Hall of Fame.
We like hearing that. And by the way, our Hall of Fame researcher, Mark Adelberg, confirms 47% of minutes for Duncan Keith in that 2015 year. So as usual, you're right on it. So that's why we always bring you back, because you bring the facts.
EJ, if I can here, can I just get something off my? Can I get something off my chest here? Do you mind?
Go ahead.
Can we? I should say we. I can't believe all of the talk about Kyle Connor being a bubble player for Team USA, or maybe he's not going to be a part. I don't understand. A, why that's even a question, and B, let's just call it what it is. It was a mistake not to play Kyle Connor in the championship game of the Four Nations. Whoever's decision it was. I mean, that. But again, my opinion, when the game is on the line, and you need somebody to be able to have one shot to put it in the back of the net, I think if you would take a poll of American-born players, I would guarantee you that Kyle Connor would be right up there with Austin Matthews and Jack Eichel, and the way that Jack uses it. I mean, go on and on. Patrick Kane. I mean, you could go on and on, but I just find it really interesting and amusing, really, and maybe frustrating for people to think that he's a bubble guy. Like, he is there.
I like it when you're amused. I'm just going to quick, because we're running out of time, but I got to ask you quick.
What do you mean run out of time? You got a long
Eddie,
show.
This is not the EON, the Eddie Olczyk Network. we got things we got to do here. But listen, right. you could be on all day. I'd be happy to be with you. All Quickly, right. I'm getting the names. Cole Caulfield. You brought up a guy that, like, the guy that scores big goals in big moments.
Sure. Right.
Up or down? Team USA.
Well, I think he's right there. I mean,
Yeah.
I do. I mean, injuries and all those type of things. What type of players are you looking for? You know, do you want more depth at center? Do you want to have guys that are versatile that can play both? I mean, look at the great thing about for Team USA and American-born hockey players is that Team USA, Billy Guerin and his staff have really, really, really tough decisions to make because we have a lot of great American-born players.
Yep.
So look at Cole Caulfield is a terrific player, was well coached at Wisconsin by our friend Tony Granato.
Tony G.
I think he's right there, but I think you could say that about, I think you could say that about Tage Thompson. I think that Tage Thompson
Another guy.
should be, should be right in the mix. So let's see how it all plays out. But the Kyle Connor thing to me is an interesting dynamic. For me, it's a no-brainer, EJ. He's there. He is there.
Eddie O, I want you to come back. I want you to come back next week or as soon as you possibly can because there's so many good stories. The Ducks, your buddy Joel Quenneville, Connor Bedard playing well, McKinnon.
Really well.
We got a million stories. So we want you. I demand that you join us again later in the week, next week, whenever it's possible in your schedule. I know you got to fit in the trips to the track, but when you can. All right.
All right, EJ. Hey, and happy birthday to my son, Tommy, who was born 35
years ago today.
While my wife was in labor, my wife was in labor when I was with the Maple Leafs, we got traded out of the delivery room. Scarborough Centenary Hospital, we got traded out of Toronto to Winnipeg while he was being born. So happy birthday, Tommy Olczyk.
There you go. All right. Thanks, buddy. Have a great time at the Hall of Fame tonight. Always love talking to you.
Thanks, Each.
The great Eddie O joining us from Toronto. Coming up next, Joe Thornton going into the Hall of Fame tonight. Mike Kelly's going to take a little bit of an analytic look at how good he was in 2016 when they went to the final. Jumbo! Discussion about Joe Thornton next on First Shift.
All right, on left wing, Legalic. Up the middle, Camo. On the right wing, down there. On left D, we got Moody. On right D, we got the Savage. And in net, we got our buddy Macker. Let's go. Oh, boys, it's so good to be back here, though. Hey, I grew up right here. This means so much to me being back. But enjoy this. This is a big part of who I was growing up. Whew, I'm going to cry, but wherever, come here. I still got the jacket that I wore. Look at that. Huh? But, hey, good luck. We're proud of you. Do St. Thomas proud tonight, all right? Deal. Thanks, boys.
Oh, boy. One of a kind, Joe Thornton. I mean, that is crazy. That's in the locker room of the St. Thomas Stars in the Greater Ontario Hockey League, kind of a feeder league to the OHL, development league. And Jumbo played a couple of years there and going into the Hockey Hall of Fame tonight. What do you make of that? Just imagine you're a kid sitting in your stall, Mike Kelly, and here comes this guy in, and you know he's a great player, and he's got this big beard, and he's a big man, and he's got this hat on. I mean, like, there's a lot happening.
There's a lot going on there. Like, do you think Joe Thornton's ever had a bad day? I don't think he'd let you know if
Not
he did.
too
Like,
many.
Such a big personality, and you hear people that he played with, just the way they talk about him, right?
Yeah.
Like towards the end of his career when he's bouncing around a bit and younger guys, you know, Matthews, for instance, just like this icon comes in and plays with us and they love him. But no, that would be such a cool moment for those kids. And I think Joe Thornton, as great as he was as a player, and he's a slam dunk Hall of Famer, obviously, what he was is like just a person and somebody you talk about as just a great personality in the game. And always had interesting quotes for the media, just a really like somebody you're happy to cover and happy to watch play hockey. So he's been bubbly this whole kind of couple days leading up, and I'm super excited to see his speech because you know it's going to be great.
All right, so he did not win a Stanley Cup in his career. He got close, though, in 2016 with the Sharks. They ended up losing to Sidney Crosby and company in that series with the Penguins. But we wanted to look back, and, you know, as things have evolved, right, in terms of the analytics and the underlying numbers, you know, we didn't have maybe quite as much of that in 2016. But Joe Thornton was a horse during that run. I wanted to have you take a look at the numbers, aside from, the points, which we know about.
Yeah, you're right. We didn't have a ton back then, but we're just kind of in the infancy of what we were doing at that point. And there are some things, like if you're a younger fan and you never saw Joe Thornton play, or you only saw him kind of towards the end in, Toronto, Florida, those kind of things. When he was in his prime and he was doing his thing, and you're right, in that 2016 playoffs, he was fantastic. He was one of the most dangerous players in the world with the puck on his stick in the offensive zone, because you never knew who he was going to find or how he was going to do it. Like, eyes in the back of his head. His awareness in the offensive zone was as impressive as anyone I can remember watching. There's people older than me that would draw some other comparisons maybe, but man, it was incredible. And where he ranked in terms of those playoffs, and you're talking about a cup final against Crosby and Malkin and Kessel and other great players. He had the puck in his stick more than anyone in the offensive zone. He completed more passes into the slot, which is a massive driver of assists, which he had a ton of as well in those playoffs. That's the kind of player he was. I think he would probably only shoot if he knew he had a 100% chance of scoring. He just liked finding other guys and setting up other guys. Incredibly unselfish player. They came close. Obviously, they always had such good teams in San Jose, but could never quite get there. But he did win some obviously huge events with Canada on the international stage. So he certainly was a winner in his career.
Yeah, you talk about playmakers, right? I mean, obviously there's Wayne Gretzky at the very, very top of the list with like 2 zillion assists, right? And his vision for the game. You have someone like Adam Oates, who was a great playmaker and set up Brett Hull and others through the course of his career. And you have Joe Thornton. I mean, that to me, Ronnie Francis is probably in there. That's the list of the great playmakers. I mean, he's on it with a very short list of players.
Yeah, you're right. Those top of the top guys are there. And then I think right underneath, you're going to Joe Thornton and other people like him. He was unbelievable. And like I said, too, it's just been a lot of fun when he was in the league, just listening to him talk and some of the great quotes he delivered over the years. He's been bouncing around the last couple of days. It's been fun watching the interviews he's been doing. Because it's kind of must-see TV whenever Joe Thornton's talking.
Yeah, no question. So it should be a great night at the Hockey Hall of Fame. We have the induction ceremony right here on the NHL Network tonight, so make sure you tune in for that later this evening. Congratulations to all the inductees. Wow, what can you say? Going to the Hockey Hall of Fame is something unbelievably special. When we come back, a guy that's headed to the Hockey Hall of Fame at some point down the road. 2 guys, actually, McDavid and Draisaitl in Edmonton. They had a tough one Saturday night. We'll hear from Connor as the Oilers get ready to host the Jackets tonight. That's next on First Shift. All right, here's a list of the worst losses, largest losses in Oilers history. And you can see at the top of the list, they lost in Hartford by 11 goals on February 12th, 84. I had to double check that. I couldn't believe it. They played in Boston the night before, so obviously there was a long party that went way into the next day, probably into the game. Gretzky did not play, somehow lost 11-0. But on Saturday night, at home, they lost to the Avalanche 9-1. And boy, there's been some tough starts these last couple of years with the Oilers, and Connor McDavid, not thrilled.
I think there's a belief in the room that we'll always figure it out. That being said, I said it before, enough is enough here. So we got to find a way to just put a good game together. Starts with a good start and go from there. We got to find a way just to put a good game together here. It's no secret it's been flat. That starts with me as the leader. It's been maybe not enough energy, not enough emotion in games, and we got to find a way to bring some of that into the game.
Yeah, so, they got on the ice, and, Mike, there's a little more animation amongst the guys talking to one another. You can see Bouchard there and trying to figure it out with Ekblad and Connor. This is Ekholm, excuse me. I mean, this has not been a good start. I mean, I know they had a history of these tough starts. They're 6-6-4. Yeah. They're -10. They, aside from losing 9-1 to obviously a very good Avalanche team, you know, they've blown leads in games, and, you know, we'd like to think, oh, there's time to make it up, but, like, you know, there's better teams in the West this year. Anaheim's off to a good start. Utah's better. There's teams that are just playing better hockey. This is not going to be as easy as maybe it was 2 years ago.
It gets late early, right? That's the saying. And I remember going back at that slow start that you're talking about, and it's like, well, this team's actually playing quite well and are going to come out of it, and they came out of it in a big way, and everything worked out just fine. Less of that this year. Like there are issues, and I think the positive side, if you're the Oilers or an Oilers fan, is you're hoping that was rock bottom, because sometimes you need to hit rock bottom to turn things around, right? It better be. The Whalers aren't in the league anymore, and you're not getting that kind of you know. So you gotta find a way to figure it out. But hopefully for Edmonton, it is rock bottom, and that's a pivotal moment that they can look back on in a couple of months and say, okay, that's when we said enough's enough, because they are too good to play that poorly in that game. And in general, with how they played this year, they can be a lot better. So, like I saw stories coming out of Edmonton after that game, like, oh, do they need to go and find another goalie? Like, it's not the goalie in that game. They lost 9-1 with a great goaltending performance that might have been 5-1. Yeah. They got beat badly by a very good team. And if the litmus test for them, I mean, for the entire Western Conference, should be them based on the last couple of years. Yeah. They got Colorado, who's the best right now, and it wasn't close. So you hope that that's the bottom of the barrel for them.
Let me just ask you quickly, Mike, as we wrap things up here today, underlying numbers, are there something you can point to, or is there a couple things that you could point to that tell us why it's been less than optimal?
Well, there is some regression, I think, that will come the same way that it did before, where it's like, yeah, the record should be a little bit better than it is. And they've kind of been notorious slow starters that way. So there is an element of that. Puck management's another thing that I'll turn to, though, where turnovers that are leading to chances and goals against can be improved. And then at the end of the day, you'd like better goaltending when you can get it. So there's small things, I shouldn't say small things. There's several things as opposed to this massive thing that I would look at. But it's getting late. They need to get going.
No question about it. Well, it's late in the program, so we're going to have to call it a day. NHL Now is coming up next. Hall of Fame ceremony tonight, NHL Network. See you tomorrow. Thanks, Mike.